Kirby and the Forgotten Land Star-Crossed World comes to Nintendo Switch 2 tomorrow. Yes, it's almost time for more Kirby goodness, but there are reviews out there already for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and of course these reviews are focusing primarily on the Switch 2 exclusive mode, Star-Crossed World. Right now we have a Metacritic score of 85 for the game, which is exactly the same exact score as the original game had. So no significant drop, very similar to the Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom, but we did see others drop. Breath of the Wild dropped a little bit for some reason. Jamboree TV dropped a pretty significant amount because of its Switch 2 edition being very lackluster, but looks like Kirby and the Forgotten Land is hovering right around the same at 85. Personally, I think the game deserves a 90 plus, but still an 85 is really good. Now, if this is the first time for you guys seeing videos like this, what I do is take a bunch of reviews and mold them into a ball and kind of give you the overall verdict from multiple different sources to kind of give you guys an idea as to what people think of this game and a variety of different people and their opinions. So kind of just combining reviews into one. There's only been really two major video reviews so far for Kirby and the Forgotten Land Star-Crossed World, and that comes from IGN and Nintendo Life, both on YouTube. Click the links in the description to watch the full videos from their channels. But yeah, every bit of gameplay that you're seeing right now is from both IGN and Nintendo Live. So first off, IGN states that the story is very paper thin. It's incredibly small and insignificant. And of course, this is additionally like extra content. I didn't expect the story to be anything amazing, but I do hope it does have some sort of lore implications, like something, you know what I mean, for us Kirby fans. Now, none of the reviewers got into anything with the lore. I don't even know if they're familiar with the lore the way we are, so we're just gonna have to wait and see ourselves. I mean, lore goes as far as an extra boss battle in the Coliseum could be enough to give us more lore than we ever needed. I mean, literally all of Kirby lore comes from post-game, you know, secret final bosses and stuff, so yeah, I wouldn't really expect them to say anything or mention anything. In fact, they don't even mention the extra Coliseum arena boss battles. They don't even talk about them, and they said there's a couple extra small things that they can't get into, but yeah, overall, it is a very extremely short story. The levels are revisited levels that are complete new remixes of levels that have already existed. For instance, you might see the Arrival Mall again, but this time you're going in completely different areas or around the outside of the mall, which is really cool. IGN makes sure to emphasize that these are new levels, that just because they look similar, these are 12 really well-made levels. And yes, there's 12 of them in this game, which might not sound like a lot, but I'll get into that here in a second as well. IGN also gets into the boss battles and says that they are all the same boss battles. Now, I would assume the final boss is going to be slightly different. I mean, I hope so. At least I hope it's a new boss altogether, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But I think that he was referring to more of the mini bosses from the level-to-level combat. It's the same mini bosses, but they just have these new crystallized features. There's really no new mini bosses outside of the new galactal enemies, which kind of work as their own form of a boss. But still, yeah, no new boss battles, which is kind of upsetting. Overall, IGN didn't really have many issues with this at all. They said it's just more Kirby goodness, and it's some really good levels and some of the best levels in the entire game added in this expansion. But overall, the game just needed more content, and they can't stress this enough. They keep talking about how it just feels incredibly light. I mean, it's a $20 upgrade, and they just said it entirely feels like a DLC level pack is what it ultimately comes down to, which I get is what it's going for, but at the same time, I kind of wished it was a little bit more than that, the way they've been hyping this thing up, advertising it, and the fact that we had to wait 3 months for a level pack after the Switch 2 launched. I'll get into my own opinions on that in a second, but IGN gave it a 7 out of 10 for the DLC alone, and they gave the game a collective 8 out of 10 when they reviewed it years ago. Next up, we have Nintendo Live. They stated that there are 12 new remix levels, like I previously stated, but some of them are the best in the entire game, and they really do blow up these levels, saying just how absolutely awesome they are, that the puzzles are really cool, that they actually have some pretty challenging difficulty, believe it or not, which I was hoping so, considering the fact that most people have already completed this game that are going to be picking this up. So it's nice to have some added challenge, and you can jump into these levels pretty much as you're playing through the main game as well. They're all in the same area. This is not like a Mario Party Jamboree plus TV thing where it's all in a separate category. Nope, it's all there in your main file. You can just see these levels open up, and it's just kind of like a side story that you can do along with the main levels as well, which is pretty cool and user-friendly. There are no new upgrades to your current copy abilities, and there's also no new copy abilities added in this, but there's 3 new mouthful modes. And the one that really stood out to Nintendo Life specifically was the gear. And actually, I heard a lot of reviewers bring up the gear. I've even read a couple that said the gear is one of the best transformations that they've seen. It's very tactile. The HD rumble feels really, really good. And just kind of rolling around, there's lots of really cool puzzles and platforming sections that really utilize it in a great way. So I'm definitely looking forward to using the gear mouth. But also, Nintendo Life brings up the reusage of bosses is really their only complaint, which I guess is a really good thing, all things considered. That everything else was really, really good, and they couldn't even find something bad to say about this DLC in particular. That is just, once again, that reusage of boss battles, which, once again, I understand to an extent, especially if HAL Labs is hard at work, which we know they're probably hard at work at the next 3D Kirby game. This was probably done by a small part of the development team that didn't want to spend too much time on this, but just give it enough content to come out as a Switch 2 edition. Nintendo Life ultimately gave it a 9 out of 10. Now, as some side information, from what I've heard, IGN was able to complete the game in just 3 short hours, which is very, very short. It said it only took them pretty much an afternoon to beat the entirety of this Switch 2 expansion mode. And this is where I want to get into my opinions on how I feel about this. So I love the original game. I think it's one of the best games on Nintendo Switch. It's definitely my favorite Kirby game of all time. It's one of my favorite 3D platformers of all time. It's a really, really good game, and I can't praise it enough. But with that said, I'm starting to get really tired of these Switch 2 editions already, and I know it's only like month 3 of Switch 2, but they're starting to feel like very cheap cash grabs. Every single one is very, very light in content. I know for the most part they're only like 20 bucks. But it makes me wonder why they even exist in the first place. I mean, it feels like they're just simply made to be filler during the months where Nintendo doesn't have major releases, but I kind of just wish the development teams just focused on saving content and working on the next installment of their games. Like, I wish Mario Party Jamboree never got additional content. Instead, they just started pumping out some of that stuff for the next Mario Party game. And I'm kind of feeling the same way here, where it's nice to have additional new levels, but from what I can hear, it seems like 3 hours is very, very, very quick. I mean, I can literally sit down and whip through this game, like the IGN reviewer said, in literally just an afternoon. I mean, most of my recordings when I record footage last about 2 hours, so that's like 2 sit-downs of recording. I'm going to be done tomorrow when the game comes out, so it makes me wonder why Nintendo needs to have this, and then just kind of like, in my eyes, an excuse for them to re-release the same game. Yes, the frame rate is improved now to 60 frames, and the game just looks a lot clearer now, which is pretty cool, but it's already a game that ran and looked pretty good on Nintendo Switch, so it wasn't something that was absolutely needed. So yeah, to me, it feels like it's just a game that Nintendo is like, hey, we can resell this again, but we need to add something or people will be upset. So they just threw in this little extra mode with whatever devs that they had left of HAL Labs to work on this game in between working on the new one as well. That's just kind of how I see things, and maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it just feels like a cash grab, a cheap way for Nintendo to resell these games. So I'm really not sold on these Switch 2 editions whatsoever. I feel like they need to just be working on their next installments instead of worrying about these old games coming back again. Which leads me to a bigger rant. I'll try not to go too far, but I see a lot of people like really hoping for other Switch 2 editions. For instance, stuff like Mario Wonder getting a Switch 2 edition, or even Mario Maker 2, and I'm like, no, I'm completely turned off from this idea. I'd rather just wait until the next game, even if it's a couple years or more. Let's just wait to the next games, because these just aren't worth it, in my opinion. I feel like Nintendo has a big issue right now with quantity over quality, and that's something that I've been arguing, which is the main difference between Switch 1 and Switch 2. A lot of people saying Switch 2 has so many games, though, compared to what Switch 1 had year one. Yes, that's because half of the games are Switch 1 games, just repurposed, and also really small $20, $10 games like Dragon Drive and Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I feel like there's only 2 major games on the Switch 2 right now that people people even care about, and that's Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart World. And Mario Kart World's already as divisive as it is. So I feel like Nintendo needs to chill out on all these little small in-between games and just focus on the big releases and get us excited about those big releases instead of sprinkling little Switch 2 editions here and there throughout the year. I feel like this whole Switch 2 edition thing also kind of prevents other games from just having simple upgrade packs. For instance, a lot of people just want to play Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door in 60 FPS. It's something that I desperately want, but it feels like Nintendo has to make this an excuse or something in order for it to happen. Like there has to be an additional mode or an additional gameplay or something. No, work on the next Paper Mario, get that next one made, and just give us, you know what, even charge $5 for it. Maybe $5 just to be able to play the games at better frame rate or whatever. It should be free, but you know what, it's Nintendo, whatever. But yeah, we just want to play old games in better ways. You know, we don't really need all this extra content that really doesn't amount to much. But overall, I'm ranting here. Kirby in the Forgotten Land Star-Crossed World seems to be a really great addition to an already fabulous game, but it's just not there to stay for a while. You'll probably finish this up in an afternoon and already wondering what's next for Switch 2, which we don't have anything slated besides Pokemon in October, and of course, Kirby Air Riders in November. So hopefully there's an upcoming Nintendo Direct in September. The rumors are suggesting so. We're just going to have to wait a little bit longer to see what's next in Nintendo's lineup. But yeah, are you excited for Kirby in the Forgotten Land Star-Crossed World to hit Switch 2 tonight at midnight? Or are you going to be passing on this or not really caring? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've never played Forgotten Land, go do it. It's definitely worth it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.